What's up? In this video, we're going to talk about forgiveness and why it's essential for you to step into forgiving not only the person who abused you, but mostly yourself, and why it's essential to carry this mindset, carry this idea everywhere, because the truth of the matter is that by holding on to all of your negative feelings around your abuse and all the pain and all the hatred, all the anger, you're only hurting yourself. And I know that this worked because it's worked for me, it's worked in my life. So stay tuned, it's coming up right now. So welcome back to another video. If you're unfamiliar with me, my name's Ethan. I help men and women overcome their sexual abuse by making these wicked awesome videos, and hopefully that they're helping some people out there learn, explore, know that it's okay, know that it's normal, know that they're not alone, all that kind of shit. And today we're talking more specifically about forgiveness and why forgiveness is so important. Forgiveness is so important because it is the one thing that releases us from the pain and hatred and blame and all of those negative feelings that are only affecting us. And I'm going to elicit this in an analogy in a story. So there's these two guys named Mark and Kyle. So Mark and Kyle were like, hey, let's go on a backpack adventure. Let's go into the jungle for 5 days. Let's see what we get up to. And we're going to leave the whole village behind and we're going to go that way. And so Mark and Kyle, they proceeded in the jungle. They took 5 days of rations and we're like, okay, we're going in the jungle for 5 days. And on that first day, Mark and Kyle, they came across this crazy deadly poisonous snake, and this crazy deadly poisonous snake actually bit both Mark and Kyle. And Mark and Kyle had very different reactions. Mark was like, oh, he pulls out his knife and he like looks at the snake. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go after you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna find you. And he starts chasing the snake and the snake withers away. And Kyle looks at the snake, pulls out his knife and begins to cut out the wound in which where the snake bit. And he begins to suck the poison out of his blood and spits it on the ground, removing the poison from his blood. And so Kyle ends up removing all the poison, and Mark ends up chasing this snake, and he keeps chasing the snake, hoping to find it, telling him resented that I'm gonna kill you one day, I'm gonna do this, you suck for biting me, and just goes after chasing him, and slowly he withers away to his own death. Whereas Kyle got to go back to the village and share with the analogy, share with everything that just happened. And he returned back to his family, he returned back to his home, he returned back to his state of being. And so in this story, it shows what most people do. Most people are unfortunately Mark. They get bit by a snake. They get bit by someone who's abused them, in our case. And they go after them, blaming, chasing, resenting, having hatred and anger and pain, only in turn to cause the death of ourselves. Mark killed himself. That's really what you could say. It wasn't the poison that killed himself. It was Mark who killed himself. Because Mark could have cut out the poison, sucked out the blood, and spit it on the ground like Kyle did. But Mark was certain that he was right. He was certain that it was the snake's fault. And he was going to go get the snake and pay it back. Whereas Kyle took the knife, cut out the wound, sucked out the blood, took ownership, took responsibility of everything that he was experiencing, spit it out, and returned back to his family. So this is the idea of forgiveness, is that so many of us play the role of Mark, blaming, patronizing. I'm not sure if that's even the right correct term to use. This is just what came to mind. And not many of us play the role of Kyle. But what would it be like to be free of all of those negative emotions, that hatred, all of that stuff that's there? And so it's not that you have to forgive that person who did this to you, but you have to forgive yourself. You have to be able to let go of all of the pain, all of the hurt that you are experiencing. Understanding that that person who did it to you must have also experienced something similar, or something that would have caused them to go to that state or do that to you. Now that's pretty crazy when you can actually get to that level and you can see how hurt that person must have been in order to do that to you. Because if you're hurting this bad and you still wouldn't do that to someone else, how much would someone else have to hurt in order to do that to you? A lot, right? And so it's developing a sense of a little bit of compassion, a little bit of empathy, a little bit of understanding of this situation that hurt people, that someone who's hurt has done that to you. And again, it's not to say that what they did was wrong. What they did wasn't wrong, because it was, and it's done, and it's over. And by reliving it and staying with these emotions of hatred, of blame, of anger, and all the emotions that you're experiencing, you're only perpetuating the situation. You're making it worse. And usually it's not worse for them, but worse for you. And so understanding and beginning to develop that compassion that hurt people, and that you have the opportunity and you have the chance to begin to cut that wound out and spit out the poison, and that you can do that, and that it is possible for you to do that. Like, imagine, and this is one of the tools, imagine that you were able to see it from this light. Imagine that you were able to forgive. Not that it wasn't wrong, that it was wrong, but you're able to forgive anyways, with knowing that. What would that be like for you? What would it be like to let go of all the anger, all of the frustration, all of the bitterness, all of the hatred, and everything else that could possibly be there, the guilt, the shame, every emotion? What would it be like to just let go? To forgive and to step into something else? I can imagine that feels pretty light, feels pretty good. And that's what you're in the work of, is understanding that yes, this happened to you. Yes, it's shitty. Yes, you do not wish it on anyone in this world. Yes, I feel all of that same stuff. Yes, it was wrong. And yes, it is able to forgive. Just because you forgive doesn't mean that by forgiving you make it right. No. You just get a message to speak instead. You get a message of like, hey, this isn't right, and I'm going to take a stand for this. Not from a place of hatred, from an anger, from that place, but a place of like calmness and gratitude and compassion and empathy, that the world must be incredibly hurting for this to still be continuing. And so that's really all I wanted to touch on, is that you have the power in yourself to forgive. Not just only that person, but that's your choice. That is totally your choice, and it is always your choice. You don't have to follow and listen to what I'm saying. You don't. It's your choice, and you'll know when you're ready. You'll know when you're there to forgive, to be in that space. But know too that you can also forgive yourself. You can forgive yourself for all of the pain that you've experienced. You can forgive yourself for not being able to stop it, or being able to protect yourself from it, or to be able to use your voice to end it. Whatever the case was, forgive yourself for doing all of those things. You did the best you could with the tools and consciousness that you had at the time. And that's amazing. And that this experience is not here to haunt you for the rest of your life. But this experience is here to teach you something, to give you something to share with the rest of the world. Because you have a story that can inspire millions and millions and millions of people. Everyone does. Everyone has a story. The hero's journey, where you can change your life, and you could be the example for that woman, that boy, or for that little girl, or for that little boy that was once in your shoes. That it gets better, it gets easier, and that you can do anything and you can make it work. So much love, guys. So if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. I believe that it's over here. Just hit the red subscribe one. Also, feel free to like, feel free to comment. Do you believe that forgiveness is possible for your life and for your situation? I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to hear you share your ideas and your opinions on that. So drop that down in the comments down below, and as always, so much love, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Peace, guys.